Power, 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 power. I say power because it can be disconcerting to think about who we have power over and who has power over us. And yet it is essential to the work we do in equity to discuss power. This will be the first of 2 videos. We start with the theory of power. For our recap, we took a close look at objectiveness, an important pillar to local government work. Rather than be content with traditional views on what being objective is, we sought to expand and pivot our approach, still keeping to the importance of fairness and doing so in a way that works with equity, not against it. After all, we can still be very objective through collaborating and synthesizing our work with others as opposed to acting in silos. We can utilize the perspectives and emotions and needs of various groups rather than decide some of it's not objective and ignore it. With this practice, taking the time to review and challenge one aspect of local government, we can now tackle another: power. I'll start us with a couple examples about myself. When the Denver Broncos went up for sale, I did not have the economic power to throw my hat into the ring and buy them. I don't have the money for it. Most of us don't. On the other hand, I have 2 graduate degrees and I was able to pay for both up front. I worked a full-time job during both and picked programs that had evening and asynchronous courses. That is money and time and good enough academic standing that I did have that gave me the power to pursue them. That is power that many people don't have. Traditionally, we talk about merit and success. The Waltons are the richest family in America due to their enormous entrepreneurial success with Walmart. I did work hard to get into grad school and complete both degrees. This is true. Also, in each case, power is a factor. Some have more power, some have less power. Some have enough power to accomplish what they want easily. Others have enough power to get what they want with more hardship and effort. Others don't have enough power to leverage for whatever goals they have, from buying a sports franchise to getting a degree to improving their lot in life. Not too bad, right? Pretty straightforward so far. There are different theories of power out there. Today we're focusing on one of the most well-known, Raven's theory of power. First developed by John R.P. French and Bertrand Raven in 1959, they came up with 5 main sources of power, with a 6th added by Raven a few years later. Reward power is the ability to get benefits, compensation, or any other type of positive, often tangible reinforcement. For example, if there's someone we work with that we can send to a training to improve their skills and resume, that's reward power. Legitimate power is formal, recognized by society such as a position or title. A judge formally runs and makes decisions in court, and in some cases is the one to determine the outcome of a trial. If we manage people, whether in a supervisory role or as a team lead of a project, we have the written authority to direct others' work. Referent power is respect, trust, reputation, that more informal source of power that might not be attached to any rule or law, but is still there nevertheless. If we have a reputation for solving problems, then others will more likely lean on us, allowing us to influence future decisions. If we know a person who knows a person, we can more likely get FaceTime with whoever we want to influence the goals that we have. Coercive power. The opposite of reward is our ability to punish or restrict. If we can fire someone or put a negative mark on a job review, even restrict something like if they can go on vacation or take sick leave or not, all this falls under coercive power. Now, I realize this one has a certain ring to it that makes it sound bad. It certainly can be. There are times we want to have some negative reinforcement in our toolkit to stop things like workplace harassment or deal with acts of hate and violence. Expert power is simply skills, knowledge, talents, and so on. In local government, knowing land use is power. Being a skilled engineer is a kind of power, or a lawyer, or a city/county manager, or IT professional. Our expertise lets us perform well, get our work done how we want it to, work that not everyone can do without taking the time to build up the knowledge and experience that we have. And finally, we have informational power, to control and influence communication. Whether writing a memo or deciding when and how to announce a public meeting to the community, we can determine who is getting the story and what story they're hearing. What can we take away with all this talk of theory and all these different kinds of power? For one, we all have power in some way, shape, or form in any given situation. We all use power naturally. We don't have to get into Machiavellian politicking to utilize our ability to reward or use our expertise. Power is almost always uneven, but never absolute. This is where you get historical figures like Gandhi and MLK who better utilize what power they had to overcome those with more power overall. If you read some of their work beyond a few inspiring quotes, you'll see they talk a lot about power of their oppressors and the power of the people they're fighting with. As we talk about equity, it is a matter of who has more power, who has less, and what, if anything, we want to do about it. Let's pull back and consider these 6 forms of power in our own communities. Choose 2 neighborhoods, one that you think has more power and influence, one less so. Let's see how these apply. Consider the tax base, businesses, other resources that they can provide to us as a local government. Consider the residents' memberships to groups like the Rotary Club, 4-H, or Historical Society, or even having elected officials. What networks can each neighborhood bring to bear? What reputation precedes them, making us inclined to respect their opinions more or less? To what degree can they mobilize to protest, to complain, to stop a project in its tracks? What kind of professionals make up the active members of the neighborhood? How well do they understand our policies, systems, and structures? And lastly, how much can they impact the local narrative through the news, social media, and public meetings? All of this talk about power and theory leads us to this question. How can we provide more power to those left out? Realistically, we're not going to make everything all even and balanced today, tomorrow, or even in the years to come. We are trying to even the playing field some. That if in our last example one neighborhood holds massive influence and another has virtually none, let's do something for that latter neighborhood. Let's, through hard work and effort, get them some power so they have a fighting chance. For our optional exercise, choose a department, system, structure, policy, anything really, and map out who has power over it through the categories we've covered. Don't forget to include ourselves in the equation. We have power too. If nothing else, we're getting some expert power and equity to make a difference. If we want to go advanced, there are other theories of power out there to consider and explore. I chose just one among several well thought out theories. We can turn our lens to the bigger picture, look at power on a regional, state, national, even international level. One area too we can begin to look is to figure out how decisions in our organization are made. Map out power that way. Be mindful though, I've learned the hard way that asking straight up how are decisions made can lead to some defensive reactions, so be sure to research and inquire about this thoughtfully. Up next, we cover the second half of power, power in application.